Hello, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Let's play chess. All right. So I won this game a few minutes ago. It's not the cleanest game, but it's an interesting one. So I want to share it with you. I'll share this game with you. It's a 30 move game. I had the white pieces. Went for the King's Gambit, and then this move D5 in response. Doesn't say what it is over here, but it's a counter gambit. I would have thought to call this the Albin counter gambit, and I might be incorrect on that. So, uh, take that with a pinch of salt, as they say. So this has to be some kind of sideline where my opponent has given away a couple of pawns, and then I decide, hey, let's make it a feast. And with F takes E5, completely missed Queen H4 check, which is a winning move for black. Here, black's gonna pick up the rook on H1. I didn't give up, so that's a good thing. I'm down a lot of material, but there's also queens and bishops and knights and rooks on the board. So there's a ton of pawns still remaining. So it wasn't time to resign. Definitely wasn't time to give up. And I decided to block the black queen's exit with knight to F3. You see here, she's not in any danger, but she has no safe move to escape white's kingside here. All these moves are under white's control. So try to make that one of the themes of this part of the game. And my opponent saw through that. The best move, actually, this is considered an inaccuracy, but really in the long term, and this is the type of move that a computer might not understand why bishop h3 is not an inaccuracy, and it's because my opponent has the extra piece, has 3 points of material over me. So after bishop to h3, I can't capture the bishop. This bishop is pinned, and black is going to get his by the picture. Black is going to get his pound of flesh with queen takes f1 check. Of course, I'm capturing. Queen takes f1, and bishop takes f1, and king takes f1. When all's said and done, it's a huge swap of material, 12 points per side. And that leaves the game how? It leaves white down 3 full points of material with one less minor piece and no queens on the board. So I like to think bishop h3 here is a great move. And the computers won't always understand this. The computer will always want this queen to, escape in some kind of nebulous future. But just structurally, there's no escape square for the queen. All right. Pawn to d4. Bishop takes f1, queen takes f1, queen takes f1, king takes f1. And we have this position. My opponent's up a full piece is definitely stronger as a result, but white is not without his trumps. These two pawns connected in the center. One of them is a pass pawn. She's seeking promotion, probably on d8. A developed knight. Easy development for white's dark squared bishop. And a number of squares here that are appealing for this bishop. Too bad he can only occupy one. d4 can become part of a very long pawn chain from b2 to e5 at simply one move, and that move is pawn to c3. The knight is ready to develop, probably after the bishop though, so ready is if there's ever such a thing as if ready can ever be relevant, it's good for it to do so in here. That wasn't what I meant to say. If ready can ever be relative, then this is a situation for it ready to be relative. If you have to wait for the bishop to move, then readiness is relative. And then, so my opponent castles queenside, and that's fine. I got maybe a little bit ahead of myself with knight g5. It's a good move, not a great move. Sort of a slower move would be pawn to c3, but then again, I'm down material. You know, knight to g5, I could win a rook on h8 pretty soon and fork these two rooks. I'll gain material that way. And anyway, so I mostly, knight g5 isn't all that bad. My opponent protects against the fork. And then the idea too is after knight g5, then pawn to c3, then c3. Take this gamble here first. My opponent's pretty much forced to respond to this move to knight g5 before, a move like rook takes d4. Remember that now this knight is back here. Knight takes f7, and with the g4 square firmly in white's control, white captures on h8. At that point, I had material. Bishop to e7. Simply knight e4 is strong enough. When you're playing down material like this, one of the things you want to do is you got to come up with a plan that ideas for plans might start with this huge pawn chain. How can white really make best use out of such a strong pawn chain? Is doubling black's pawns on the h-file by capturing the knight on h6, is that worth it to lose my only long-range minor piece? Things like that. If you have, so here I said it was worth it. These pawns are now doubled, and white is making a go of having superior pawn structure and superior pawns in number. Knight at b to d2, pawn to f6, just some exchanges. We're going to hold on to some material and a break for white here after rook d to e8, knight to d6 check, king to d7, capture the rook for the superior piece value, and things are getting a little bit closer here in terms of figuring out what are the chances between one side or the other side winning. So after rook f8 check, I move my king towards black's dark squared bishop on g5, with the thought of, for instance, after some move, just most moves I can play knight takes g5, h takes g5, king takes g5, and it's not here. It may not. It's the material's now equal. It's not equal for long because of rook f2. But one of the ideas is your opponent has to find rook f2. Right? White cannot simultaneously defend or move b2 and h2. But that's up to my opponent to find it. Not only that, but this 1, 2, and we're capturing black's h7 pawn. some kind of error there. Now black picks up the pawn on g3 is what I think what the computer's that's why the computer's indicating h4 as a mistake. And then the huge blunder, rook to h8. We don't even know if my opponent did this out of a sleight of hand, not sleight of hand, if my opponent did this on purpose or not. It's, you know, I'm not going to accuse anybody of that, but fortunately for white, as a competitor, it means king takes h8, and the game goes so strongly. It goes not so strongly. The game goes to white as a result. I'll be able to win this endgame. My opponent resigned, and that's it. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Have a great night.